If you want to be more authentic, if you want to interview better, if you want to be more effective in your work, or you just want to make better decisions, then this video is for you. Welcome to the Unnatural Leader, where we believe that leadership is a skill that can be trained and not an attribute with which we're born. I'm Andy Glenn, and my goal with these videos is to provide to you an easy-to-access resource that will help you to develop the tools necessary to be a better leader. In this episode, we're going to be discussing self-awareness. What is it? Why is it important? And how do we develop it? In our last episode, I introduced the concept of authentic leadership, and I mentioned the importance that self-awareness plays with regard to authentic leadership in developing our body of knowledge and giving us that background for making experience-based decisions. The ancient Chinese strategist Sun Tzu said that if you know your enemy and you know yourself, you needn't fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but you don't know your enemy, for every victory that you have, you'll suffer one defeat. And if you neither know your enemy or yourself, well, then you're in for a rough time. In a similar vein, this idea of self-awareness is also found in ancient Greece, where the Oracle of Delphi had emblazoned above the entrance the two words, know thyself. As leaders, we have to know ourselves if we are going to fully understand the effect that we have on ourselves, on others, and on our work. Once we truly know ourselves, we can then regulate ourselves and our actions and become much more effective. Self-awareness is the first component of emotional intelligence. We'll dive into emotional intelligence in much greater depth in future episodes as well, but understand that it becomes the base for improving our leadership through understanding, self-regulating, and then improving our ability to interact with others. But what is self-awareness tangibly? It is the understanding of our values, our goals, our strengths and our weaknesses, our drives, our motivations, how we communicate, how we make decisions, who we are, where we come from. It's understanding all of those things and then how those things influence our processes, our decisions, our actions, our behaviors, and how those things also impact others. For example, if we lack self-awareness of our own values, we will make decisions that disregard what we truly care about. Think, for example, of the young 23-year-old who just wants to go make money and goes and takes a great job on Wall Street, and after about 2 years, 3 years, realizes that he is absolutely miserable because the work is unfulfilling, or it's boring, or he's just shoveling papers around on his desk, and he's not doing anything that feels meaningful with his life. But he didn't have a true grasp of what he valued prior to taking that job. We also need to know our strengths and our weaknesses. If we're going to develop effective teams that can then tackle serious problems, we need to know where our own gaps are so that we can then bring in people that are strong in those areas that can fill those gaps and help us become a more effective organization. Similarly, knowing our strengths and weaknesses will also help prevent us from looking like fools. If we go into a meeting and we know that we don't know something, or that it's an area of weakness for us, then we will not speak when we shouldn't. We will kind of stay a little bit more reserved. We will observe. We will take in information, and we won't stretch beyond where we ought to be stretching. And in those areas where we're weak, we can then seek out help. We can then improve those areas so that they're not weaknesses in the future. One of the most important tools I think that leaders have is our ability to communicate. And in order to communicate effectively, we need to understand how the other party receives information, as well as how do we like to receive information and how do we like to present information. Because if we are people that like to talk and the person that is on the receiving end is somebody that likes to read, then there's going to be a mismatch. So we have to understand where we're coming from in terms of how we communicate to improve that communication and become so much more effective and powerful as leaders. So how do we know if we have self-awareness? That's a little bit trickier, but it's still not terribly difficult. I want you to think about a time that you failed and why it is that you failed. I'll wait. If you have as the cause of your failure some weakness or some characteristic trait, an area that you're not as strong at as other areas, then you are already developing a certain amount of self-awareness. If you're spending time thinking about how do you improve yourself, you already have a certain sense of self-awareness. We all have a certain degree of self-awareness. However, if I asked you why did you fail and you can't come up with a weakness, and instead you start pointing fingers at other people, well then we need to step back and we need to reassess some issues that might actually be underlying the cause of that failure. When people feel like they have no weaknesses, the reality is that they are demonstrating a fundamental lack of self-awareness. Now, interviewers and hiring managers, when they are looking to fill a vacancy in the position, that's one of the things that they're looking for. And so if you sit in an interview and you tell them, I have no weaknesses, they're going to rule you out at that point in time for that lack of self-awareness, because then they're going to feel that you're not somebody that they're going to want to work with. So we need to try and see realistically, be very self-honest without getting critical of ourselves, of where our self-awareness level actually is. Let me give you a couple of examples. For me, I know that one of my weaknesses is my ability to focus. I have high levels of energy starting projects, but follow through is very difficult for me. I'm also very easily distracted by any external stimuli. So one of the things that I have now done to try and improve based on that self-awareness is I turn off notifications for email or Facebook or any of these other stimuli that might be coming in. I try and block off my calendar in a way that it's protected for a set period of time, and I can kind of sprint through that work without trying to multitask, because I know that when I try to multitask, I get distracted very easily. So I'm trying to apply my own level of self-awareness to my day-to-day work to become more effective. Now, all of this is great, but how do we actually improve our level of self-awareness? Well, fortunately, here at the Unnatural Leader, we are in the process of putting together some tools that will be available on our website that will help you to enhance your level of self-awareness. But in the interim, while you're waiting on that, there are certainly some things that you can be doing now to improve your level of self-awareness. The first thing I want you to do is to grab a piece of paper and a pencil and write down the following questions. Okay, question 1 is, who am I? Question 2, what am I good at? And as you answer this question, I want you to come up with no fewer than 3 things at which you are very competent. Next question, what are my weaknesses? Try to come up with 3. Next question, what energizes me? What gets you up in the morning? What gets you out of bed and excited for the day? 5th question, what makes me mad? 6th question, why am I good at my current job? 7th question, if I wanted my boss's job, what traits would I need to develop now to be able to take that role? Next question, how do I like to communicate? Am I a verbal person? Do I prefer written word? Next question, what is my leadership style? So using these questions will help provide a very basic level of self-awareness. Again, we are working here at the Unnatural Leader to put together a easy-to-use workbook that will help you further enhance your self-awareness going beyond just these very, very basic questions to identify some core competencies that we feel are important to leaders and kind of help you rate where you are on each of those so that then you can begin to improve them and you can understand how those core competencies and your level at those will affect you, the people around you, and the organization's effectiveness. If you're feeling exceptionally brave, you may also want to go to your peers, your coworkers, your boss, your subordinates, and ask them some of these questions as it relates to you. Ask them what they see as your strengths and weaknesses. Ask them what they feel that you could be doing differently or better. Their input will help inform your understanding of you. It's not always going to be easy to hear. It's not always going to be answers that you like. However, to be an effective, authentic, humble, and emotionally intelligent leader, we need to hear those things and to further develop our self-awareness as much as possible, regardless of whether it's comfortable or not. So to sum up this episode, self-awareness is the cognizant understanding of your values, your goals, your drives, your strengths, your weaknesses, and how you conduct business. And it further forms the foundation for your effectiveness as a leader and for your development as one as well. Again, we're going to be adding a lot more resources to our website, linked in the notes below, that will help you to further enhance your self-awareness and to further help your ability to be an authentic leader and an emotionally intelligent leader, and most importantly, to be an effective leader. So stay tuned, come visit our website, sign up for our emails there, and we will push to you information regarding self-awareness in the future and developments that we have for our tools that then you can use and apply to further enhance your own leadership and those of the leaders that you're helping to develop. So thanks so much for watching this episode of The Unnatural Leader, talking about self-awareness here. Thanks and stay tuned. We'll see you soon.